Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome along to the Red 78, a Munster podcast for Munster fans. My name is Ruairi O'Hagan, and we have a lot to discuss, including a very, very disappointing day for Munster in Thomond Park against Bayonne, and a chance to get right back on the saddle against Exeter Chiefs this weekend. And who better to talk us through it than Munster legends Alan, Quinlan and Fiona Hayes. Guys, how are you after the weekend?
Good, Rory. I'm loving the old Grinch jumper. You're looking very snazzy.
Well, it is Christmas. Like, you have to make the effort, I suppose. And that's it. Where are your Christmas jumpers? Quinny, where's your Christmas jumper, buddy?
I have to go out and buy one. Last year's one has gone a bit tight on me.
I feel you.
Yeah, that's why this one is the extra large size now to get over my Santa belly that I put on over the last couple of months. But yeah, we certainly have a lot to discuss on the show today, and plenty to dig our teeth into based on Munster's performance, particularly in the second half against Bayonne. We have gotten a lot of comments in about the game, not as negative as I thought they were going to be, and a lot of people just, I suppose, Fiona, trying to build on the positives and kind of saying, look, it was just one game.
Yeah, 100%. I'll read a couple out there, but I suppose it's just a one game, and with the Exeter game, like you said, coming fast and sharp, it might be a different story with the tweets next week. But I think, and we'll touch on it a little bit later with the injuries and stuff like that. I think we're going to leave Munster off a little bit with this. But look, Mick Ryan said it's like a brush stroke in a painting. Munster's initial stumble is but one stroke in the canvas of their season. Magical language there, Mick. A masterpiece takes time to reveal itself, and a setback is just part of the evolving picture. Huge game in Exeter this weekend. Per Johnson, Limerick Viking, as he likes to call himself, once again disappointing game management. The decision to go to the corner all the time when it's obvious that they don't have the power to bash their way over is very poor. Who's making the calls, Crowley or the captain? And George Dundon, line out is critical issue. No respite without a functioning line out. Can't win matches without it either. Our ball was far too slow from the breakdown for much of the match. Our pack weren't big enough to put in the arm wrestle with Bayonne. Exeter will be very, very tough. And just Paddy, I think we should draw a bit of positive here. Paddy said it's good to see the scrum work things out from a shaky start. Hooker has to nail every line out, or as we saw on Sunday or on Saturday, you will lose. He also has to carry the ball. Tyburn was brilliant, but there's only one of him.
Certainly is. Plenty to sink our teeth into there, but Quinny, let's just call a spade a spade. That wasn't good enough for Munster over the weekend.
Probably from after 20 minutes, I think. You're always going to get a couple of mistakes and things that you can look back and say you did better. That doesn't mean the first 20 minutes were perfect, but they were pretty accurate. Good intensity, urgency about the way they attacked the game. I suppose they identified some space, found it hard to get to the edges and get line breaks like we see them doing. And I think when they get to 14-3, you're thinking they're going to kick on here, and that's a crucial period. But too many mistakes, and lost a bit of that urgency and that control in the game, and they weren't clinical enough. When they got entries into the Bayonne 22, I think we'd probably expand on it a little bit more. Bayonne were very powerful and strong and physical. Let's not kid ourselves here. They rotated their squad hugely as well. So they didn't come with their strongest possible team on paper that they've been playing in the top 14. Well, I've said this before, sometimes that can be really tricky in a potential banana skin, because you've guys trying to get in the team, trying to impress coaches, get new contracts, get moves to other clubs in France, and upset and frustrated maybe that they're not starting every week for their team. But a lot of good players. They had a lot of, a couple of Argentinian internationals. Facundo Bosch is a really good player. A lot of power. Mikutadze in the second row, big, powerful Georgian. And obviously what they brought off the bench, that physicality, their tight head prop, Tanguy, and really strong and powerful. So I think we looked underpowered. We're missing a lot of power. And I suppose a lot of teams are missing players, and even when we talk about Exeter, they have a number of injuries that they didn't play in Toulon, and a couple of guys missing important players for them as well. It's part and parcel of the game. But when you're kind of thin on the ground as it is squad wise. You lose 2 international wingers. Keith Earls retiring, Andrew Conway having to retire through injury, Mike Haley gone, Anton Frisch got a shoulder knock. Some questions about whether he was fit or not fit. I think he had a shoulder knock. And the problem here with guys with bangs and bruises and stuff, it's very difficult to push them out given what's coming in the next few weeks and the run of matches. So, and then you're missing countless forwards, you know, which brings a lot of power. Klein, Snyman, O'Mahony, Kilcoyne, Scannell, Barron, Ollie Jaeger. It's the list goes on. Even Edwin Adogbo, very young player, but he's big and physical. So you're missing a huge amount of power. I'm not saying every single player would start in the team, but it makes your bench stronger. It gives you options to change the game up, and brings you a lot of experience. So one of the issues was the game management at times, and I think one of our tweeters mentioned that, and a lot of the tweeters that I look back and read all the tweets would have said that. But we've said it last week and the week before, there's issues around the scrum and that bit of physicality and line out accuracy. You know, the first scrum of the game, 3.5 minutes gone, Bayonne just shunted Munster straight off the scrum. It lays down a marker. It gives a French team, and in my history of playing in the competition, playing against French teams, if they get a bit of dominance at scrum time, it gives them a lift. It makes them believe. So that was the first scrum. I think we had a penalty in front of the post, 7.5 minutes. But 3-0 down. But I just think, take your points. This is cup rugby. I know Munster in particularly last season, went to the corner a lot and got returned from it. But, you know, there's a massive emphasis now with all teams, and it's very brave. It's not just Munster, it's lots of teams are deciding to go to the corner. And obviously, if you get the try, it's the right decision. But I just think you got to be a little bit smarter, put some points on the board, and they didn't. Shea McCarthy does score a couple of minutes later, which was a great try from him. And, you know, 20 minutes in the game, Gavin Coombs scores the second one. You think 14-3. Munster doing well here. A couple of mistakes, a couple of lost lineouts, scrum, you know, those scrums. But then you have a scrum on the 24th minute where Bayonne nearly scored. It was a disallowed try. It went forward. Their prop makes a break up the middle. A couple of offloads. He lost the ball in the contact. They did score in the corner. Munster get the scrum from that. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee that you're just going to win your own scrum when you get a break like that, but you've just potentially erased 7 points from the opposition. I just think there's a little bit of doggedness, or there's a little bit of nastiness or anger lacking at times. And we looked like, in that scrum, quite passive. And they just shunted Munster off the scrum. And it makes them believe that they're still in this game. So a few crucial decisions there. You know, you get a scrum a couple of minutes later. Gavin Coombs tries to pick out of the back of the scrum. It was more solid, but he knocks it on. So there's a couple of mistakes starting to creep in. There's a couple of lost lineouts. There's a crooked lineout. There's a steal. There's a knock on from Ty Byrne, an underthrow from Scott Buckley. And I just think in that period, from probably 20 minutes on, in that first half, Munster just started saying to Bayonne, yeah, you can come back into it here, and we're going to do things to make them believe. And they're getting those little energy boosters. 38 minutes, penalty, I think it's 14-3, given those scrum issues, couple of lost lineouts, disjointed period of time where Bayonne were starting to build a bit of energy and momentum. It's 14-3. I think just take your points. It's outside the 22. It's a little bit to the right of the post. Make it 17-3. It's 38 minutes gone. Make the game 17-3. They kicked to the corner, lost them all. And that brings you in then to, you know, half time. And I just think, obviously, those 3 points, I just think Munster left 6 points behind them on the kicking tee there. And I think we talk a bit about game management, and I just think that was probably a little bit frustrating. Okay, it's easy to look back. Munster will look back at this and analyse, and the scrum coach and the line-out coach and the, you know, different coaches will be looking at lines of running, accuracy of passing, all that kind of stuff. Urgency, lost the urgency. That bit of, you know, zip to get there and win breakdowns and get in shape quicker. So look, it's I mentioned the injuries and the players missing. Munster don't have the depth that you would love to have. Now, not everybody has that. There's very few in Europe, but when you're down that number of players, and we keep talking about learning curves, yes, it is a learning curve for Munster, and these players will learn for it if they analyze it in the right way and just understand those small moments. But I thought that that's where the game was lost for me, that 20 minutes after, just before halftime.
What your takeaways?
Just coming in on that as well. Can I just point out 100% that's early in the game, but something that drove me mad was maybe just I'm old school as well. I'm always kick for your points. It was around the 70-minute mark. They'd had 8 mauls and made 7 meters. So that's already after happening. They weren't getting change out of them all. And yes, they got a penalty just, I think, about outside the 22, a little off to the left, and they decided to go for the line, turnover, and eventually Bayonne went down and turned. That was a huge moment for me because you were 7 points ahead. It was 17-10. That would make it 20 and 10 minutes left for Bayonne to come back at you and get 2 scores, and you'd back your defence with that. So even though, yes, early doors, they'd felt everything out, I just thought it was a big moment to not go for the post then.
Hindsight's a great thing, Fiona, isn't it?
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
Obviously,
and look, you're a coach. You're out coaching every week and every day, and it's easy. It's probably easier for people watching or even going back saying, yes, we should have done this, this, and this. And I don't it's somewhere in the middle here, because I love the ambition and the bravery out of this team. And again, last year, they made some great decisions to go to corners, attack teams, and they got tries and return out of it. But I just think when you're a little bit disjointed and you're missing a lot of experience and power and physicality, and the opposition, you haven't shaken them off, I totally agree. Put it over the bar, make it 20-10, get out of there with 4 points. Everyone's talking about bonus point wins, and maybe that's part of the problem as well. There's always a danger. I played in these games for, 13, 14, 15 years when you're in Europe. They're a real kind of intriguing kind of proposition, because sometimes you think, oh God, on paper, this team don't want it. But if you don't really be ruthless in the pressure points and take away their momentum, and given the number of players that are missing, and to be fair, the team is very disjointed and lacking that bit of power and that experience, that international quality at the moment, because there's so many injuries and it's hurting them. I still think Munster should win that game. They should win that game 26-10 or 24-10 or something like that, and get out of there and say, okay, no issues, we've got 4 points. But if we were to go into the second half and look at the accuracy at times when Munster got there into good attacking positions, that's when there was a real sense that Bayonne felt when they brought it back to 17-10, and there was a real sense it was 14-10, and then they did kick the penalty, Munster, to make it 17-10. But I thought that there was a chance there to finish it off, to get the tries. And you think, get one more, Calvin Nash nearly scores, then they get sloppy, and if they score there, you're thinking bonus point win, let's go for the 4th try. But credit to Bayonne, in fairness to them, they kept believing and kept going, and showed great fight and determination. And you saw the reaction from their fans and their players at the end. This meant a lot to them. So game management, bit of leadership, bit of control and accuracy. But the worrying part here is where you talked about the 7 meters out of how many mauls, Fiona?
8 mauls.
So it's kind of a theme from the start of the season where there's no return from the maul whatsoever. And that's a concern. That's a worry. The scrum then very inconsistent. Now, to be fair to them, they did kind of shore it up and fix it up a bit. But, they're kind of worrying signs, and they've got to keep working. Look, there's no... I actually genuinely believe that they will react and they will be better.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players in the squad at the moment and in the team and getting to play these games who are maybe need more experience at this top level about doing the simple things really well, being really efficient, and bringing that real intensity and emotion that you have to these games, and doing it as a cohesive unit. So, of course, they're trying to play, and they're trying to move the ball around. I thought Alex Nankerville at 13, I'm not sure it suits him. He cuts back inside a lot. He's a lovely footballer. He finds a soft shoulder a lot. That was possibly an issue. And they put a lot of pressure on Munster, and were really physical. So frustrating, disappointing, and but all is not lost, because 4 teams are going to go out of this group. It just makes the job a little bit harder now, and we saw what Northampton did to Glasgow as well. So it's not certainly a foregone conclusion that Munster will be getting a result against Northampton on the 20th of January. It's a really difficult run. Hopefully they can get some players back this week and just keep working on improving.
Yeah, certainly so. Maul defence, guys, is something that we've been bringing up time and time again on this podcast over the last couple of weeks. Reared its ugly head again this weekend, Fiona, with the concession of that try later on, and that again, just that Maul defence. Munster just can't seem to cope when there's a Maul.
Yeah, and you know what? Unusually, I actually thought that they'd worked a lot harder on it this week. I saw that the Maul defence was better. I think it was just for the try, because if you noticed early on, Bayonne, they weren't getting much change at Maul time. And to be fair, their pack are big, and Munster seemed to set it early and hit it, and there was a lot of endeavour in that area. Unfortunately, when it came to the try, they just Bayonne found a way over, and that will happen in games. So I think Maul defence, yes, there was a try, but I definitely saw it was a lot better this week.
Yes, what do you think of it, Connie, that try?
In the end, obviously they win. They get set up early. It can happen. I do agree with Fiona. The Maul defence was better outfield and in other situations throughout the game. They're certainly trying to get stuck in there. There was a little bit more aggression, I thought. I just thought the position on defenders on that blind side was very, very poor. I think even when your man breaks off, the Bayonne player, and they score, I just think we could have easily defended that a bit better and had a couple of players in the line. I think Shane McCarthy was well back behind them all. Probably needs to get into the line there. But when you're going forward, it's hard. It's difficult to defend that. And there was an eerie silence, and it was kind of there was a feeling that this was coming. It wasn't as if everyone was in total shock, because Bayonne at that stage were really believing, and they get level it up, and they get down there a couple of minutes later, and you're thinking they're going to win this game. Munster turned the ball over. I think it was Ty Byrne that had a brilliant turnover, but you're starting to believe Munster are going to get nothing out of this, and Bayonne could win it. So look, it's frustrating, I think, and the physical dominance probably made a big difference. And they won a lot of those collisions in that second half, and it was a concern, and it is a concern going forward. But there's a bit of power missing from Munster, and you've just got to find a way better to be more accurate and more clinical. And I think if Munster were more clinical, even if they conceded a couple of tries, they still win the game. And you don't want one to outweigh the other and be really good scoring tries and conceding. I think definitely the defence was better and the aggression, but I think the attack this week just got a bit disjointed and very compressed. And look, Frisch is not playing. He's a really evasive mover in that 13 channel, runs hard lines, but he can also run that outside line as well. And I think Nankerville at 12 is a really good footballer. So that maybe disjointed things a little bit. But, you have Shane Daly going over his ankle during the week as well, on Thursday, I think. And it's not serious, I don't think. But, that kind of Ollie Yeager got a bang in training. It's not clicking into place for him now. But I love Graham Rowntree, and to be fair, I love his honesty, and I've always said this about him. He doesn't come out and sugarcoat it after the match.
No.
And this isn't about having a rant at all the players here. They're absolutely trying. I just think they need to learn quicker, process things, and understand these pressure moments about their accuracy. And look, it's frustrating when lineouts are not going right, and you You don't want to be highlighting the thrower or the lifters, or it's a group thing. The forwards need to sort that themselves and get better. They need to get lower in the scrum when they have a bigger pack like that.
Yeah, just even on that as well, the breakdown. So we saw what they could do with Glasgow when they had sharp, quick ball, and I think the breakdown was Bayonne slowed it down. Yes, illegally at times, but look, they have to do whatever they're going to get away with. But I thought Munster's reaction times, or what they did then, because it was slowed down, was so static.
Would it be anything to do with a bit of fatigue? Because we saw Connacht on Friday night, very surprisingly, you know, after a hard run of being in South Africa, the Bulls match, the Leinster match, and 6-day turnaround, you think, God, their energy seems to be gone. And I think Munster maybe lacked a little bit of that energy at the weekend, because some of these players have gone 4 or 5 weeks in the trot now. And people are talking about, Anton Frisch and Dermot Byrne, could they have played? Well, there's possibilities they could have played. I don't think their injuries are serious, but there's a run of matches, Exeter, Leinster, you know, Toulon, Connacht, Toulon, Northampton. They cannot play every week, all these players. And that's just the reality. I think, going back to what I said, the rotation is much easier if you don't have 12 or 13 guys missing with injury. So but I think maybe there was a little bit of energy missing, possibly, yeah.